if you need to run and grab a notebook, piece of paper, pencil, or just open up a brand new Google Sheet, you can go ahead and do that now because you will be using it today in our workshop. So welcome again. My name is Michelle Carruthers. I'm here with my colleague and friend, Leanne Edwards. We are both behavioral career coaches at App Academy. We're talking to you today about how to be intentional with your job search, specifically how to master that mindset. So what really does it mean to be intentional? I have the literal definition here. A thing intended, an aim or a plan done on purpose, deliberate. A concept considered as the product of attention directed to an object of knowledge. Oh, so great, awesome. But how does that apply to my job search? So I like to say that energy flows where your intention goes. So today we're really going to learn just how to do that, how to take your job and your life to the next level by strategically and consciously using your intention and then aligning your actions to that. So I hope you guys are so excited because this is about to happen. Get ready. Like I said, if you need to run and get that piece of paper, open up a Google Sheet, please do that now. But in the meantime, you get to meet us and get to know your coaches for today, Miss Leanne Edwards.
Thanks, Michelle, and thank you, yes, again, Minthiem, for all that you have done for us here at App Academy. I have been engaging with students all week and over the weekend, and people have been super ecstatic about how difficult things have been in a good way, technically challenging and really pushing them, and also, you know, just kind of working together as a team. So I've been getting really awesome positive feedback so far this whole week. So thank you for everything that you do. I am Leanne, as Michelle had said, and I am a behavioral coach here at App Academy. I am based in Charleston, South Carolina, so I'm on the Southeast. And I put here that I am your technical recruiter because the cool thing about spending this time this afternoon with Michelle and I is that we both kind of have different backgrounds, but yet similar backgrounds. And while she is, you know, a super experienced life coach and has an awesome breadth of knowledge on really how to get your mindset ready to rock and roll for the job search, I come with a ton of experience on the recruiting side, specifically technical. So when you hear a lot of what I have to share today, it usually comes from a technical recruiting background. So feel free to ask any questions that you might have on that front. I do have 20 years of recruiting, mostly technical. I have a published book on Amazon. Culture Driven Recruiting is on Amazon, and it's been out now for, I don't know, I think maybe 2 or 3 years. And that was at that picture is from my my first book launch, actually, was up in Workable in Boston. Really fun memory. And so I've been a career coach and just an expert in the field for quite some time. So I'm really happy to be here with you guys today. Again, like Jennifer mentioned, this is going to be interactive, so we're excited for your questions as well, and excited to start this journey with you. Thank you, Michelle.
Awesome, Leanne. Thank you. And she already gave me somewhat of an introduction. So I'm Michelle Carruthers. I like to call myself a confidence and motivation cheerleader. Like she said, I have a big background in technology. Yes, I actually went to school for information systems and worked in the corporate and startup tech space for about 8 years, and then transitioned to follow my other passion for coaching. And I've gotten a plethora of different certifications specifically around stress and mindfulness and holistic health and really mastering your mind. So through my whole career and personal experiences, stress was kind of at the root of it all. And it wasn't until I really got a hold of my mindset and my beliefs and my thoughts that I really got to honestly take intentional steps to create more of my dream life. And that's what I'm here to share with you guys today, related to your specific job search, what you're creating for your career and personal life, and the tangible steps that Leanne will share with you on just how to start doing that specifically in your job search. So it's time to get our learn on, everybody. Hope you guys are ready. A few things to help make our time together today really impactful. Number one, we encourage you to really come with an open mind. We encourage you to be coachable. And what that really looks like is challenging your beliefs in a healthy way. We're offering a lot of different perspectives that you might not have ever been introduced to before. And so it might be uncomfortable. You might feel a little personally challenged, but we encourage you to keep that open mind, really look at it as a growth opportunity and become curious. How can you investigate it further when you are uncomfortable and see what's really coming up for you and how you can shift that. Number 2, get excited. So on a physiological level, if we're feeling doom and gloom and low in energy, our brain isn't as receptive to absorbing that information. So if we can change our physiological state, feel more energetic, get a little more excited, our brain is that more apt and open to receiving that information. So get excited. Number 3, ask questions. As we mentioned, you can type the chat. We're going to be monitoring the chat. If you feel so inclined to unmute and interact with us, that's encouraged as well. But please ask us anything that comes to mind. This is really here to serve you to the best of our ability, so please ask questions. Number 4, walk away with at least 3 takeaways. This is where that paper or that notepad, Google Doc comes into play. Take 3 takeaways that I'm going to set a time box on this. You can implement in 48 hours. That's that intentional part, guys. How can I start today and in the immediate future to start taking intentional action in my job search? Write it down. And lastly, take a few deep breaths. Because again, when our brain and our body are in a relaxed physiological state, we're that more apt to absorb and receive and retain that information and do something with it later. Specifically, what we're going to cover, I'm going to talk about starting with your why, what that really means and why it's significant in your job search and in your life. Then I'm going to talk about taking ownership and what that means in terms of your job search. Then we're going to take a little break, brain break, and shift over to Leanne, where she is then going to come back and talk about challenging mediocrity and creating your roadmap to success. And ultimately, we're going to bring it all back, tie it all together on how to align and continuously realign your actions day in and day out to make your job search the best that it can be. Do we have questions before we get started? Anybody?
I just checked, Michelle. It looks like we're good.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So starting with your why. The significance here, yes, you're pursuing software development, and we all know that why do you want a career in software development is to ultimately get paid, to get a salary, to get a paycheck. We get that. That's a given, though, for any job out there. What sets you apart in the job search is attaching a more meaningful why to why you chose this career path and this specific trajectory to achieve something bigger. So starting with your why, I like to think about it in terms of this kind of golden circle, which I know it's red and black, but I'll talk about where I got that from in a little bit. But getting clear on that why is really going to serve you when it comes to your personal pitch, your cover letter, and any one of those first interactions that you have in that interview process. Or it could be even an elevator pitch or a networking event. All of these circumstances are an opportunity for you to share with someone your why and really set you apart. And what I mean by that, if we take a look at this circle, is the typical or like mediocre approach, if you will, to a job search or even a business or an organization is from the outside in. And what I mean by that is people talk about what they do. I'm a software engineer. Okay, how do you do that? I use this technology, I use MongoDB and Express and React and Node.js, and we throw all these technologies at the recruiter. That's great. We know what you do and how you do it, but why? I just like to do it. Ultimately, I want a paycheck. Ultimately, I want you to hire me and get me a job. Falls flat because it doesn't tie to who you really are, why you are interested in not only software development, but this specific role or this specific company. So a gentleman named Simon Sinek actually coined this term, the golden circle, and he gave a really infamous TED talk about starting with why. And he gave this incredible example about the reverse, right? How really impactful, inspirational, powerful leaders in companies inspired their employees to get on board with the business and the organizational mission by starting with why. And his example was Apple. So I'm going to share with you the inside out approach, the reverse, starting with their why and then going down to the what. Think of this as like a marketing pitch and how it's really powerful specifically for Apple, because there's all these different computers and device companies that we can buy from, but why would we buy from Apple? So Apple states, everything we do, we believe in challenging the status quo. We believe in thinking differently. The way that we challenge the status quo is by making our devices simple to use, elegant, and user-friendly. We just happen to make great computers. You want to buy one? So that's very different than just saying we make great computers, we focus on elegance and user-friendliness. Want to buy a computer? There's nothing attached there when it's from the reverse, when it's from the what and the how. But when we attach that why, that challenge the status quo, we believe in thinking differently, that why at the core of everything that they do has this emotional attachment to them. We want to buy from them then because we're on board with their mission. We want to do the same thing for you when it comes to your job search and your why behind being a software engineer. So obviously there are other benefits that can come with this, providing clarity and giving you direction, increasing your ability to actually communicate your needs and your desires in those interviews, in the cover letter, when you're just networking. Like I said, if you're really clear on why you're doing this, it's that much easier to communicate it. Eliminating distractions. When things get tough, when you really are up against a deadline, you can't figure out a bug, when you are forced to learn a new technology that's really, really difficult, when all of the difficulties come up and you can tap back into your why, that's super powerful, and that gives you this resilience and this motivation to not quit, because you know at the core essence that through all of this, this is my bigger picture. This is my bigger mission. So helping you discover your why. We're going to get into a little workshop here in a second, but just to set the stage. How do you discover your why? Well, you're really going to start to ask some powerful questions and investigate internally with yourself. What are your passions? What are your strengths? What are your dislikes? What do you hate to do? And ultimately, what are your superpowers, which are those things that maybe you're not so good at, but you can spin and leverage in a way that is super powerful and shows your unique value that you bring to the table. And Leanne's even going to talk about even further another level of your core values. So now if you have that Google Doc or that paper, this is where it's going to come in handy. We're going to take a few minutes to fill this out, but I'm going to break it into chunks. And the way that this is going to look is we're going to spend 60 seconds on each section. First, I'm going to tell you guys what each section really means, but then I'm going to time for 60 seconds so you guys don't overthink or criticize or judge whatever comes up. The 60 seconds is going to time box you so you can just throw whatever comes up in your head on paper and move on. That's really powerful too, so you don't overanalyze and get caught up in things. Okay, so the passion section is just what it says. What would you do for free? What makes time disappear when you're doing it and you just get lost in it? What do you do well? So things that you're naturally good at, these could be talents. These could be things that you can just do in your sleep. It's so easy, it just comes naturally to you. What do you suck at? So these are the things that you're you're comfortable saying that and admitting that you're not very good at, and that you probably won't try too hard to improve on. I can think of an example from me. That's accounting. I'm not very good at crunching numbers and really putting everything into spreadsheets and accounting purpose. So I am totally comfortable admitting that I suck at that. And then hate. So what are the things that while you do them, you lose energy? So you can do it, maybe you're even okay at it or good at it, but it's just energetically draining. And then that superpower, like I just mentioned, something unique about you that maybe at first glance might seem like something not so positive, but you can definitely spin it in a positive light, and it makes you absolutely unique. So is everyone ready? They have their paper or Google Doc ready to go. I'm going to set the timer for 60 seconds. We're going to focus just on passion. Get that brain dump as much as you can. Don't judge yourself. Let it go and start. So some things that you can ask yourself as you go through the passion, specifically, what gets you excited and you can't stop thinking about? Something that emotionally moves you to take action. Something that gives you that sense of satisfaction and fulfillment, like, yes, I did it. This can be career related. Ideally, I would suggest keeping with career, but it could be personal too, because that gives you insight into your patterns as well. All right, last thought, and then we are moving on to what you do well. Here we go. Start on what you do well. So again, these are the things that just come natural to you. You really don't have to put too much effort into it. Maybe this is something that people pay you to do or come to you for advice. Might be some overlap between passion and well. But the well, sometimes you just do it just because you're good at it, not necessarily because you love it.
Michelle, I was just going to add in there too. I love this exercise as well. And one thing that always stuck out to me that wasn't eye-popping at first is that your category of well can also correlate really well with your hate, right? So like if I'll just give you guys an example for myself in recruiting. If I was working on like a DevOps role or a really hard role, I would do that well and I would be passionate about it. But if you asked me to fill a marketing role or something that was not technical, I would put that in my hate, right? So you can do stuff really well, but still hate to do it. So what you're trying to do here is just identify more along the lines of like what you do well, what you suck at, what you hate, and then what you would do for free. And then it's all going to make sense in the end. But that's just an example I have. And Michelle, I did put in the chat that we will share this document after the presentation with Jennifer or Ro, and we'll make sure we get it out.
Awesome. Thank you, Lan. All right, moving on to suck at. Again, those things you're comfortable admitting that you're not very good at, probably not going to improve on.
I can add one other thing there too, Michelle, with the suck column. I think for people like you and I, we're a little bit closer in age, I think. So for our generation, and I don't know if this is true for you, but this is true for me, where I grew up in well, I grew up in a huge family. But if you sucked at something, I feel like all I remember is my parents putting that on my list of like, well, you've got to practice more math because you need to get better at math or whatever it was that I sucked at. And I think now the new way of thinking, new generational thinking is, let's not even waste time on things that we suck at, and let's figure out what we're good at and what we would do for free and then make a career out of those, right? So the thought process in general has changed over the years. Thank God for you guys, because my dad and algebra, 8 or 9 o'clock at night, I still have nightmares of those days.
Very true.
Yeah.
Which brings us to hate.
Algebra is in
so what do you hate to do?
Still hate it. I'm with you on accounting.
Yeah, so those things that emotionally drain you, like I said, anything accounting related, not for me. No thanks. And then lastly, the superpower. So Leanne, actually, if you want to elaborate on the superpower as well, I think you have a really good way of explaining it too.
Yeah, sure, no problem. I love the superpower. So the superpower was put here in order to take a minute and think about something that you would consider a weakness of your own. So that dreaded question of what is your biggest weakness is real, right? Unfortunately, that question made it to the 20th century and we're still asking it every single day. I don't know why someone hasn't gotten rid of that question yet, but it's still here. So we're going to make the best of it. And when I think about a superpower, I'm thinking back to one of my job seekers who had a weakness that we called a superpower. And what you do is you take that weakness and you essentially, Michelle's term, but you flip the script, right? So she was extremely shy and introverted, and really it hindered her in the workplace. It hindered her when she was working in group settings. And so it was something that she felt was a weakness. And so what she did was she wrote that down, we worked through it, and she went out and started going to multiple networking events. In fact, even interviewed to be like the head of this board that has to do with software engineering, just to get out there and meet people, and made herself extremely, extremely uncomfortable. And so she put that down now as one of her superpowers, is not being shy. It's taking initiative and flipping the script and taking that and putting herself into a very uncomfortable situation and then soaring once she was there. So her superpower became putting herself into uncomfortable situations, which she had never done, prior to graduating App Academy and having to look for a job. Your superpower could be anything that maybe someone's told you in the past that you, maybe you are disorganized, right? Maybe you can't focus. Maybe you have crazy ADHD and you need to turn that around and figure out how you focus and figure out what that superpower is. So it's some sort of negative that has maybe followed you around for your life, that you can kind of pull out, write down, think about it, and see how you can flip the script. Where can you make this character, I'm not going to use the word flaw because it's not a flaw, piece of your personality, and really flip it to make it a positive. And if anybody wants to jump in and share with us what they think might be a superpower, we are totally happy to hear what you guys have come up with as well.
Yep, or any combination of any of these. So if you're kind of wondering which column it really fits in, or if it can go multiple, or ultimately what this pattern is that you're trying to decipher between all of this, that's what we're moving to now. So is there anyone that is noticing a power, struggling to come up with a superpower?
I have another good example, Michelle, I just thought of that I think we talked about this during our internal coaching day that we recently just had that was awesome. And that is the ability to never say no, right? And take on too much. That's always a really good weakness to use when you're in an interview setting, is that I don't have the ability sometimes to say no to things because I want to help out wherever I can. And so you flip that script and make it a very positive thing where I enjoy helping others. I want to be involved. I want to contribute. Sometimes I have to take a step back, look at my calendar and make sure that I actually do have the bandwidth and I can give them 100% of me. So it's all about flipping the script in whichever way you can. Okay, we have an OCD, Michelle.
Okay.
Daniel says he has OCD.
Okay.
Somebody else has anxiety and ADHD. Rebecca has her hand up. So Rebecca, if you want to jump in, you're more than welcome to.
Sure. I was just thinking, because we just met earlier, Leanne, and it was super helpful. I was like concerned because my major in college was very different than the career that I wound up pursuing after college, which is very different than software engineering, which I'm pursuing now. And I worry that it could be seen as like maybe not having enough of a focus or not having enough of like determination and like really being engaged in software engineering because you've switched multiple times. But I can like flip that script. And I also think that it's a superpower of mine being able to be successful in different fields and having a wide range of interests and being able to like be multidimensional and like bring different perspectives to the table as opposed to someone who perhaps hasn't had experience in other fields. So
nailed it. I am the same. I had a big limiting belief that, like you said, I had to focus on one career path, and me being multi-passionate is what I like to call it, looks like I can't commit to anything and that I don't know what I want. And I'm like flimsy, like I just like float around and whatever looks good, like shiny object syndrome. So yeah, you spun it perfectly. When you get to our whole next step is taking ownership of that story, but you spun it perfectly of saying, but the multi-passionate allows me to explore things and continuously seek more knowledge and improve myself. Like that's an absolute plus in the job market and the job search. It's just how you believe it about yourself and show it to the job search and interviewer process that really sells or doesn't in the long run. But you did it great. Leanne, did you have any feedback about that?
Yeah, so thank you, Becca, for sharing. Becca is on my team, so I'm working with her, and yeah, she nailed it. That's an exact example. I remember the first time I was doing one of the presentations for Career Quest, she popped up and was like, hey, I have this most random background and I'm freaking out because I don't know if like I'm supposed to, what should I do? Like it doesn't match. And I went into it because of COVID and I thought I was doing the right thing. And I think I am doing the right thing, and so through just in a couple times and talking together, we're able to flip that script of like, actually, let's take a step back. You have incredible amount of work experience. You have stories that you're going to be able to use for your recruiting toolbox, right? So when you get those questions of like, tell me about a time, she has plenty of stories that she can pull from her past. And in fact, she's very heavy on the UI UX side, right? She has an eye for design, which really flows into maybe getting her a position more on the front end side of things, still being full stack, but she's going to have that passion for being in the film industry and being able to see what really looks appealing to the eye. So in fact, she couldn't have set herself up to be in a more amazing position going into being a software engineer. And furthermore, we talked about what she wants 10 years from now, and she's setting herself up for an incredible life 10 years from now, not just today, based on her background and her ability to get through boot camp. So yeah, totally, she nailed it, flipping the script all the way.
Awesome. Yeah, and you brought up a good point that through all this, again, we're trying to get back to that why. Like when you look at those 4 columns or 5 sections, however you have it designed, there's a common thread through all of it. If it's personal or professional, you'll start to see common threads. For Becca, it was design or creativity or graphics. So she'll start to see these patterns. And again, when we're really clear on why we're taking this path, then we get to eliminate the distraction. We get to eliminate the fluff. We get to get really intentional on the types of roles we're applying to, the types of companies we want to work for, and what ultimately we want to spend our day doing in an actual job. So that's huge. Is there anyone else? Let's take one more. We have a big laziness conversation in here. So lazy meaning you take a long time to do things, or you don't end up doing things. Who originally said lazy? Allie?
That is Navi, I think. Navi Man. Oh, Jennifer or Allie did. Okay.
I was just commenting on the fact that it's a great thing to be lazy. Often when hiring, you look for that. Lazy people actually have a very innovative hack of finding the best solution that takes the least amount of effort. So I was kind of giving Allie some kudos there.
Gotcha. Okay. I see where you're going with the laziness, because laziness in my mind could also mean, though, I don't get anything done. So being mindful again of that word choice too. So what you originally meant by that characteristic of laziness, did it mean I look for shortcuts, or does it mean I just procrastinate and don't ever get anything done? So being mindful of that too, because it can be perceived in different ways in an interview process too, if I just say I'm lazy. So spinning that though, I love that spin of looking for the way to get the most done in with the least amount of effort. Awesome.
Michelle, I can add something to that too, just because I'm not sure if I have OCD, but I might, if you look at my vacuum lines, I might actually have OCD, but I feel as though, you know, I'm kind of the same way on that front. And the word I think you could flip that with is efficiency, right? Like I'm to the point where sometimes I will be straightening my hair and, you know, drinking water at the same time to make sure I get my water down, right? Like always being efficient. And so laziness could actually be, I'm super efficient and I want to think outside the box in ways in which I can automate. And the reason that you do that is because you want to provide and give yourself more hours back in the day to do more meaningful stuff. So you're essentially not lazy. You never want to use lazy in the interview ever, but you could replace that with some really key words and spin that to be you're efficient because you're creating better time, better use of your own time, and then it allows you to have more hours back in your day to do more fulfilling things.
Exactly. Yep. Okay, so coming back around to, if we look at all of those sections, the passions, the well, the suck at, the hate, and the superpowers, what are you guys discovering? Are you seeing any kind of pattern that could help you get back to ultimately why you came into software development? Like what pushed you away from certain things? What pulled you towards software engineering? Does anyone want to share what their potential why could be after you look at all of this?
I can go if no one wants to jump in.
Yeah, sure.
Definitely creativity. I, like during the pandemic, super got into drawing. I got a graphic art board and just started drawing more and realized that I wanted to implement something creative, but something that functions and in a really cool way. So that was a really cool discovery of mine. And also being able to communicate with other people and help them learn. I feel like that's something that I really kind of connected with. Those are pretty much my whys, I think.
That's awesome. Thank you. Does anyone else want to go share their why? Or Leanne, if you want to share yours, I can share mine.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, Daniel has his hand up. Sorry.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess initially I started App Academy with the intention of having, you know, a good quality of life and work-life balance. But as I was actually like building out different portfolio pieces, coming from a music background, I kind of now equate, like, I don't know, I kind of make a connection between the keyboard that I was familiar with and now like the computer keyboard. It's kind of like your paintbrush, and it is, you know, it can be a very creative and rewarding process. So I think that's something, aside for the financial benefit, I think that that's something that I've definitely been, or that later on I discovered to be really enjoyable.
That is incredible. See, that's something really memorable in some kind of elevator pitch or an interview. I'm going to remember that because immediately my brain goes into visualizing music notes and how someone would formulate a music and a whole composition. Same thing for software development. So the pieces make up the whole. That's really beautiful. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, so I encourage you guys to really, again, look at everything that you wrote down and come up with a really meaningful purpose at the core of why you're going on this career trajectory. What is that why that when things get tough, you can go back to, when you're first interviewing or meeting someone that you can make that memorable connection with? Oh, sorry, reading the messages. That will serve you throughout your whole career path. As you can see, you can start to tie in your past, your present, and then projects to your future. So it's really, really powerful. Before we move on, does anyone have any other questions on that section, finding your why and the power behind it? Okay, so next section, taking ownership. And don't be one of those things. So what I really mean by taking ownership, now that we've gone through that process of discovering why we're here, some things might have come up that and brought to light that we're not particularly proud of. Like Becca shared her story. I was very similar there, where I just felt like I couldn't commit to anything. I was all over the place, and who's going to hire someone who doesn't even know what they want? And I was really struggling to communicate that. But now that you're clear on your why, you get to look at that stuff that might have come up or will continue to come up in your job search and beyond, that maybe it's a little uncomfortable, and look at our patterns there. How do we react to things? How do we respond to things? Whether it's criticism, whether it's rejection, whether it's ghosting, where someone, we think we have an interview and then the people just ghost. All of these things, right? So looking at our patterns of the beliefs within ourselves that lead to thoughts that ultimately lead to our actions or inaction, and how we can start to take more ownership there. So what does taking ownership really mean to you? Again, like I said, a lot of what we do, we might not be aware of, is actually subconscious and out of habit. So in these reactions that might come up, I just really invite you to look at the patterns. Again, not judging ourselves for what we're noticing. It's all taking our power back and bringing that awareness to how we talk to ourselves, how we react to that rejection, how we get caught in the doom loop or get out of the doom loop when things aren't going the way that we want. Paying attention to it and bringing awareness and then taking ownership is how you start to shift the trajectory of where your job search is going, and ultimately where your job and life are going to once you have one. So what it's not, it's not being closed-minded. It's not making excuses. So when, again, if things aren't going right, if the economy is crashing, if there's a pandemic, and there are circumstantial things in our environment happening, it's taking an honest look at that on what is in our control and not making excuses on why we're not showing up the way that we truly need to get the job and create the life that we want. Not placing blame, again. It's no one's fault except our own if we're not taking ownership for what it is that we are not doing. And then having a bad attitude or being one of those things when things don't go our way. So it's really easy to become defensive, to get in a bad mood, to go in that doom loop, like we say at App Academy, of self-blame, criticism, judgment, and get in that bad mood and have it radiate out. As career coaches, we're here to help. And so when that bad attitude just takes over everything, it doesn't help the situation. So taking ownership when we do feel those emotions, to move through it and past it. What ownership does look like. So focusing on the process. So a lot of us can get caught up, especially when we're in the heat of the job search or we've been in the job search for a while, on that end goal. We got to get a job. I got to get a paycheck ASAP. Yes, but how can we shift that perspective and look at it in a different light in terms of, along this process, how am I becoming a better human? How am I learning? How am I growing? How am I building my network and new connections with people? And Leanne's going to talk about all of these specifics in terms of actions in her section. Taking initiative to bring positive results. Again, how do I get out of the doom loop once I'm in it? Because it might be inevitable for most of us to feel really frustrated and disheartened when things aren't going our way and we're just not getting traction, but you always have the ability to get out of it and start making positive traction again. And part of that is just being accountable for those thoughts and actions. Again, bringing awareness to my patterns of thought. When I see that rejection email, what's the first thing that comes into my head? Am I immediately defeating myself and self-sabotaging with my thoughts in terms of, oh my gosh, what am I even doing? Why am I bothering? I'm never going to get a job. And I start that process in my brain. If so, that's okay, but you can stop it and shift your mindset to something that you can control and you do want to focus on, and that is building the connections, building your brand, focusing on your why, all of that. So the way that we do this is a little journey into self-awareness. And self-awareness was actually brought up in a Harvard Business Review article in terms of one of the top qualities for high and better team performance. Because with self-awareness, teams are able to have overall better decision quality because they're aware of how they think, act, and ultimately behave with their team. So the decisions can be more open, more honest, and collectively understood because each person is aware of their own thought process and can communicate that in a solid way. Coordination makes sense. If I'm aware of how I operate in the day-to-day, I can communicate that with my team and we can coordinate better. In addition to conflict management, that's a huge one. And for those of you in App Academy that work through group projects, I'm sure you have those stories of times when things didn't go right. But when we have increased self-awareness, we have that much more power and leverage to be able to shift it in a way that is positive for all the parties involved. Ooh, sorry about that. So some benefits beyond what I just mentioned in that graph. So creating greater ability to deal with stress. So if I'm aware of those patterns I was talking about, some limiting beliefs maybe that I've had about myself, and then the thoughts that come up when certain things happen in my life, I can then tie it to my actions. So if I have the tendency to, as soon as I receive a rejection email, to self-isolate and lock myself in my room for a day and not do anything and avoid people and avoid any meetings with my coach and avoid applying to jobs and get into this doom of why am I even bothering? That's a huge value to be aware of that tendency for me to see these beliefs that I'm having about myself as a result of this thing that happened in my external environment, then shifting my thoughts, and ultimately that behavior will then begin to occur less and less, if not stop, because I have that ability now to shut it down. So the more we can become aware of our tendencies, again, non-judgmentally, with a loving curiosity here, that we have the ability to nip our coping or not coping mechanisms in the bud. We get to enhance our time management. If we notice that we're lazy, that's a powerful thing. So how can you then organize your time in a strategic way so that you're still moving forward in a positive momentum, given that that's your tendency? Improve self-confidence. Again, taking ownership of all of this stuff about myself, the things I'm good at, the things I like, that I don't like, that maybe I've beat myself up about in the past, or felt judged by other people, or felt forced, like my dad making me go down this route. All of this self-awareness is really powerful, because once you own that, you can be confident and comfortable in who you are and what your story is, and use that to your advantage. And finally, increase emotional intelligence and resilience. Again, when things go bad, I have that why connected to my core mission and where I'm trying to go in my life. And I can keep moving forward because I'm aware of how I, in the past, had acted, and can shift that in a way that will promote what I do want for my future. So this is just a little homework that you guys can write down, maybe one of your takeaways. So a valuable lesson in self-awareness is not only exploring it on your own, but comparing how you believe yourself to be and how you think you're showing up in the world to how others perceive you. So this might be friends, this might be family, this might be colleagues or your cohort mates at App Academy, or even in the hackathon, whoever you're working with here. It's a really neat and powerful experiment when you can compare how you think you're showing up to what others are perceiving. Think about the interview process. So if I think I'm showing up completely confident and holding myself well, and my nonverbals are on point, but the other people have a completely different experience of me, that's super incredible to know, because then I can be aware of that, and next time I have an interview or a group project or a hackathon, I can come into it with a different intention. I can show up knowing that last time my team said I didn't really communicate too well when I was frustrated with that bug, so how can I change that this time? Or again, like I said, with the rejection letters, I realized that I didn't really handle that too well because my husband said I locked myself in the room for a day. Good thing to know. How can I shift that next time? So as the homework, you can write down some of these questions and ask 5 people in your circle, in your network, just 1 to 3 adjectives that they would use to describe you. And write down 3 adjectives you would use to describe yourself. And maybe it would be different for each person. Hopefully you're consistent across the board, but we tend to behave differently in different environments with different people. So compare your adjectives for yourself with the adjectives that these 5 people would associate with you, and see what you come up with. Okay, so that was a lot, but now it's time to get really clear about what you're here to accomplish. And bringing all of this together. So you can write this down again or take it as homework, it's up to you, but what are you most excited about, or share it with us, most excited about achieving over the next few weeks, days, months, years, whatever a big goal looks like to you? Having a plan will help set you up for success. So what are your goals for the immediate future? And even more powerful is an intentional way to wake up every day asking the bottom 2 questions to yourself every day. What's one goal for me to accomplish today? And that can be personal, that can be professional, but taking that big, hairy goal and breaking it down into every day when I wake up, I'm setting an intention to at least accomplish this one thing. That way it doesn't seem so overwhelming. It doesn't seem like this thing in the future that's so big. What's one goal I want to accomplish today? And then who do I need to show up as today? Intentionally, who am I showing up as to achieve that goal and continue on my path towards those bigger goals? Does anyone want to share a big goal that they have and that they're setting their sights on?
I can share.
Okay.
I really want to get a full-time job being a software dev.
Yes. So if we break that down to today, what's a goal that you set for yourself to accomplish today that aligns with that?
For today, my goal right now, I'm working on a Rails project.
Okay.
So my goal for today is to basically just submit my blog. Writing blogs is a part of the hiring process. So if I complete my blog today and submit my blog, it can help me towards that goal.
Okay, so you're going to submit a blog today. And who do you need to show up as that aligns with that software developer role that you envision and dream about?
Definitely need to be a great communicator and a great technical solution thinker, someone who can explain in detail what I did throughout the process.
Okay, related to the blog specifically?
Yes. And the project that I worked on, like my Rails application, how it was step by step, basically being someone who can teach someone else how to do what I did.
Okay, a leader.
Yeah.
So you're showing up as a leader. So by writing about your blog and completing your project, you're essentially owning your skills in that area so that one day you can be a leader and do the same for others.
Yeah.
So that's who you get to show up as.
Got you. Yeah.
It's way more powerful than like, I'm going to be a software engineer today. Let's dig deeper, right? Like there's more to it than that. Awesome.
Yeah.
Good job. Anyone else want to go real quick? Big goal, break it down to today, and then who you need to show up as.
Michelle, I can give you an example if you want.
Yes, please.
It's actually not work related, but it is health related, so you would be proud. So one of my goals for like the last couple of months, I'm not really, so I would prefer to wake up and eat pizza 3 times a day. And I'm realizing that as I age, that doesn't seem to be working for my body anymore. So I've been doing a lot of research on eating more healthy and trying to figure out ways to do that. Back to my efficiency problem, I can't sit there and just eat blueberries or raspberries or carrots because it doesn't taste good, and B, it doesn't feel like it's a good use of time. So I have decided that every day I'm going to make this smoothie that has blueberries, spinach, some like those hemp heart things. Stuff I wouldn't even eat. I hide it in there, avocados, celery, like all that nasty stuff. I put it in there, I blend it up, and I make myself eat it every single day so that I can show up feeling better as a human and feeling like I'm fueling my body to produce rather than eating pizza and struggling through the day, if that makes sense.
Absolutely makes sense.
I'm doing good. So
yeah.
I'll keep you posted.
Yes. Awesome. So you get to show up as this healthy, optimized human so that you can get your work done on time, you can finish the day strong, you can have energy. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Good stuff. All right, so that is a main takeaway for today. If nothing, that is a huge one. Every morning asking yourself, what is one goal that I'm setting for myself today? And how do I need to show up? What kind of human do I need to be to align with that goal? And then my ultimate big goal that I'm really focusing on. All right, so now it's time to take some action. Leanne is going to jump into her sections and talk to you guys about how to complete a personal branding assessment. So now that you're really familiar, you're self-assessed, you know what you're strong at, what you're not so strong at. We get to put that into application in terms of creating your personal brand and then going through all your social media channels and making them shine as well. So we're going to take a quick break first and then switch it over to Leanne. So let's take 3 minutes, Leanne. Is that enough?
Yeah, that works. Or if you want to make it more even for my non-math brain, you want to do 2:05?
2:05. Okay.
5.
2:05. See you guys back here. Take that break. Water, whatever you need. Bio break.
All right, we should probably get going for sake of time. All right, cool. I think we got everybody back here. Yep, we do. All right, and everyone can hear me okay? Perfect. Okay, so thank you, Michelle. That was amazing. Super, super inspiring. You fired me up for the day. So if that was your goal and your one win for the day, you did a great job. So thank you for that. Okay, so we have about 25 minutes left together. And what I want to do today, my goal is to give you some specific tangible things to take with you. So if I run through a couple of these slides fast, we try to make it pretty personable, pretty fun, but I will do my best to kind of plow through the important stuff. So the first thing I want you to do is, whether you're typing or writing, either way, I want you to take the next 30 seconds and write down this sentence for me. I am able to land any job I want. I want you to put that somewhere where you're going to be able to see it for the rest of your job search journey. I am able to land any job that I want. I find that to be true because I am a behavioral coach and I'm working with job seekers day in and day out. I've had a lot of people who have said to me, I'm not going to strive after those big, hairy, audacious goal companies because I'm lucky to get my foot in the door anyway. Wrong, wrong. We're going to take, yes, Michelle, we are going to take that limiting belief and put it to the side, trash it, do whatever you want to do with it. You are on the path now to own your own career. So we're here today to help you own that journey, to make sure you get the job that you're looking for, not just any job that will take you. You are worthy. You put yourself through this incredible program. You have a lot to offer. You have killer projects. Your coaches are going to help you sell the shit out of yourselves. We got this, okay? So what I want you to take away from this today is that no matter what, you are in control of landing any job that you want. It's in your hands. All right, let's go. Okay, so we are going to challenge mediocrity because that's what I love to do. I hate mediocrity. It drives me bananas. So personal branding is one of my favorites. I've done a lot of this over the years, just in kind of working with different clients on the career coaching side. Does anybody have any thoughts on personal branding? Do you think it's a buzzword? Do you think it's just junk? Or do you really think that it could make an impact? Yes, it does, Rebecca. Okay, we have Rose said that it definitely makes an impact. It does. It absolutely does. And again, my take on everything is always from a recruiting standpoint. I've tried to get rid of that. It won't go anywhere. So just bear with me. I'm gonna die a recruiter in my old days. So it is a game changer. It absolutely is a game changer. And it's so imperative when you think about, just let me give you an example. Think about the Twitter event we recently just had, and you think about all those people applying. How are you going to separate yourself to be different than the crowd, right? And you've got to do this with every job that you go after, especially when you have tons of bootcamp grads interviewing right now, right? Not just from App Academy, but from everywhere. So how are you going to create your own brand and separate yourself? Okay, so here we have the definition for you. So personal branding is the practice of people marketing themselves and their careers as brands, which is absolutely true. And I'm going to show you some examples as we go through. So your personal brand is absolutely a superpower. I actually didn't know this until, man, I was probably in my late 20s, and I had a mentor come up to me and ask me why I hadn't written a blog yet. And I was like, why would I write a blog? And he was like, well, if you want to separate yourself in the industry and make yourself a really well-known recruiter where the talent comes to you, then you're going to create this space on your own that sells itself and does the legwork for you. And so I thought to myself, like, okay, yeah, I guess I could get a blog going. And so I did. And that's kind of where my journey of personal branding started. I started with this like shoddy Squarespace, ridiculous website, but it worked. It did the trick, right? And it started to drive traffic, and it started to really give me some attention on being like a technical recruiter in the industry that really knew her stuff technically, but also had some good connections and good jobs. So a lot of my recruiting started to do itself because I started to really open up my network. And so that's what this is all about today. If you take away nothing from my portion, just take away opening up your network. Some of you might be introverted, and some of you might think that this is so uncomfortable, and I get it, I feel you, but I promise you, opening up your network is only gonna do great things. And there's a lot of people out there, believe it or not, that actually do wanna talk to you. So I'm gonna give you some really warm versions of how to do this today. Okay, so take a second. We talked about superpower. Let's talk about what your competitive advantage is. Think about that for a minute. Let me think about some job seekers I have right now. So I have one job seeker who is a total badass. He's amazing. He's got this crazy DevOps background, infrastructure. He knows his systems and designs really well. He's confident, well-spoken, and he brings to the table some experience on the DevOps side. So he has a better handle on an agile software environment. But he also can technically code well, right? So his competitive advantage might be that he has some good background experience, or his competitive advantage could be that he is very well spoken, right? He's not shy. He can get up and tell you exactly what he's good at. So think about your competitive advantage. Are you really good at React? Have you figured out hooks? Can you talk about that? Can you talk about why you would be better than another engineer? Does anybody want to share a competitive advantage that they might have, or they might just be thinking of? Bro, I see you looking like you might share.
I think maybe the one thing is like I, for some weird reason, had a big spike in networking opportunities through Twitter. So that was really interesting. I never expected that. I didn't use Twitter before I started my boot camp. So I did that in May, and like I have made really, really amazing connections through that. And I feel like that kind of helps somebody stick out, especially in the job market. I always tell people, don't shy away from Twitter. It may seem overwhelming at first, but once you get in there, the water's fine. It's a great way to meet people.
That's a great way to put that. The water's fine. Come on in. Yeah, we'll get into Twitter here shortly too, in that it's such a great job tool as well. But so think about today, tonight, you know, even when you're getting the feedback from the people you're asking for those adjectives, maybe one of those adjectives will come in and be your competitive advantage. But you always want to know, why should we hire you versus someone else? And so that's always a great answer to an interview question. And trying new things, Brian, is also a very good answer as well. Being open-minded, being open to trying new ideas, right? Awesome. All right, let me just move this here. Okay, so we worked on our personal pitch, right? You guys have worked on that. You've submitted your awesome videos that we got to see, which is great for most of you. But your elevator pitch should be really short and sweet. Who am I? What do I do? And why? Kind of like Michelle was talking about earlier. And so we're going to really try to keep that in the back of our mind, that you want to continually, your personal pitch and your elevator speech is something that's constantly evolving. It's always going to change, right? But you want to be really good about talking about yourself, why you do what you do, what you do. I am a software engineer. Why? Keep this in the back of your mind. Okay, so we have a quick exercise here for you guys today, and we'll share this with you as well, but you just need a piece of paper and a pen or whatever you're typing on. And you might think I'm crazy, which is totally fine. I asked this interview question the other day. I was interviewing somebody internally for App Academy, and when I had said, you know, what are your 4 human core values, I feel like I might have put this candidate in like a, wait, what? I don't even know what that means. And as a recruiter, I have been working on hiring on culture fit for years. So the culture fit part for me is very important, meaning your soft skills and who you are as a human. Those things will help me to know if you are going to align with said team. So I want you to take a minute and write down what you think 4 of your human core values could be. And there's a reason why we're going to do this. It is stemming from self-awareness, but it's important to be able to know how you align moving forward. Michelle, I think you were going to share with us an example of your human core values, right?
Yeah, I can share with you guys just to get the fluids flowing. One for me is integrity. You guys probably picked up on that. So taking ownership of who you are, acting in integrity with what you say you're going to do, and actually following up and showing up as that person. So integrity is really important to me. Curiosity, always be learning, always be exploring and trying new things and exploring new places, meeting new people. So curiosity is number 2. Number 3, contributing to something bigger than myself. So that's just a fancy way of saying, you know, my why is always at the forefront. I always want to help people be better versions of themselves. So contribution to a bigger impact is another big value for me. And number 4, which Leanne alluded to, optimizing health. So drinking lots of water, getting good sleep, you know, nutrients and nourishing your body and exercising your brain and your body, and all of that is really important to me too, because when you're healthy, then you can show up again as a better version of you. So those are my top 4.
Awesome. Thank you, Michelle.
Yeah.
Anybody else, feel free to drop some of yours in the chat. I can share some of mine too to get your brain thinking. A little bit similar to Michelle's, but a little bit different. So one of mine is to remain coachable and open-minded. I wasn't always coachable and open-minded for sure. When you see me trying new foods, you'll know exactly what I mean, but I am working on being coachable and open-minded and staying that way, right? So that I continue to be a sponge where if others are willing to teach, I'm willing to learn. Honesty for me is huge. Doing the right thing is huge. So integrity, but my kids always make fun of me because whenever they leave the house, I'm always like, do the right thing, do the right thing. And they're like, whatever. But that's always kind of a saying in my mind, is just doing the right thing. And then Michelle, for you, I put number 4, health. I'm going to try to keep working on that. So I think we had a couple people in the chat. Let me see if we've got anything in here. Okay, compassion, organization, networking, socializing, awesome. Honesty, respect, discipline. Humble is huge. Humble is huge, especially in the software world. Integrity, curiosity, contribution, optimizing health. Perfect, you guys are crushing it. Empathetic, yes, write all of these down. Okay, for sake of time, I'm gonna keep moving. And then we're going to show you how all of that aligns here soon. So as a recruiter, I always would use tons of social media in order to find the right people that I was looking for. I can tell you that this is going to be really hard to hear, so if you can't handle it, block your ears, but 98% of the people that applied to my open positions, I would not be hiring. It would be the people that would reach out to me, the people that would make a connection with me, the people that would show up to my networking event, literally come up to me and say, I've researched you on LinkedIn. I'm so excited about your full stack engineer role. I brought my resume. Please let me know if there's a time we can talk about this position, because I'm extremely passionate about what you guys are doing and what you're supporting. So the people that go out of their way to make themselves shine were the people that I always gave the first chance to. So while it might seem awkward and uncomfortable, this journey is also going to be uncomfortable, right? It's a short journey in your life. So we have to make the best of it. So that said, we're going to help you as you guys go along in your job search journey with your coaching, as far as making sure that all your social media platforms are where they need to be. So we will specifically help you with your LinkedIn. Don't worry about that. But you want to not be afraid to make connections, right? Make connections with the people that are working at the companies that you want to work with. Make connections with the alumni. That's a very simple connect note. You have 300 characters there to really make yourself stand out. And you could be asking for nothing. You're just trying to make connections in your industry. You want to post information, really good information, right? So if you're on LinkedIn and you're sharing other people's links and tagging other people in it, you're going to get yourself noticed by those hiring managers, right? A lot of times software engineers, the senior level engineers, are the ones that are actually doing the hiring. And those are the ones that are sharing stuff on LinkedIn. So liking their stuff, connecting with them, seeing if they have a blog, branching out. These social media platforms, I know sometimes when I do the creative outreach stuff, people are like, I don't want a Facebook, I don't want a Twitter. I hear you. I totally get that. My only ask is that you would create a Facebook or a Twitter or a Reddit account for the short term of just finding a job. The only thing you have to do on there is put software engineer and maybe your location. And what that will do is open up your world. In Facebook, there are Python groups, React groups, just basic software engineering groups, happy hours on Thursday to talk tech in New York City. Like, the world is so big of all these different events that are going on. It's up to you to put yourself in the right place. So in my mind, I see two different job seekers. I see one that says, I'm going to do the bare minimum. I'm going to throw 25 applications at the wall and hope something sticks. And then I see another who's like, how can I get creative? How can I get myself out there? 25 to 40 apps is not where I'm feeling good about. I'm going to do way more than that, but 25 of those are going to be creative outreach via LinkedIn, Facebook groups, Reddit groups, you name it. If you're feeling lost, after this, we can send you, we have 5 creative outreach videos that walk through using each one of these platforms in order to optimize your job search. So we have plenty of resources for you, so don't panic. But start to ask yourself right now, where is my social media at? Do I have a Facebook where I could be following all these different software engineering groups? Those are where the jobs are being posted. Am I on Reddit? Am I trolling different threads to add value and meet new connections? In LinkedIn, there's tons of groups in LinkedIn where only jobs are posted. React, Redux, Rust, WebAssembly, DevOps, you name it, they're all there. And that's how I would find my engineers. That's where they're posting jobs. That's where the recruiters are. So you want to join all of these groups. And again, we can help you further with that. But I can't stress enough how important your social media is during this journey. Once you get a job, I mean, we can light fire to all your social media together if you want, but I need you to get the job first and know that during the journey, this is part of it. Okay, so let's dive back into some personal branding to kind of pull things a little bit full circle. If anybody here is not on the Hunters Slack channel, I highly, highly recommend it. It is an internal Slack channel here at App Academy, and we put their blogs, vlogs, podcasts, jobs, I mean, you name it, it is just a great place for information. And you might hear me talk about this guy all the time, but his name is Rob Dial, and he's my favorite. No, I don't get any proceeds off him, so don't worry. But every day that I walk the dogs, I'm listening to this guy because he gets me fired up. So like Michelle was saying, who do I want to show up as today? How am I going to be intentional with my day, right? So I know that if I take the dogs for a walk in the morning and I listen to one 15-minute podcast of Rob Dial, I've already put my mindset in the exact spot and where it needs to be in order to be so productive for the day. So write him down. His name is Rob Dial, like just D-I-A-L. He's everywhere. And he is a great person to listen to follow, to really get your mind in the right space. And what he talks about a lot, he's not a software engineer, but he talks a lot about the imposter syndrome as a human, which I know you guys all go through as software engineers, and that's something that we work closely with you as coaches with, but it's real. The imposter syndrome is real in life in general, right? I remember Michelle telling me a funny story about how when she was a health coach at the gym, she had gotten her certification, but was like, how am I Michelle, tell the story. You tell it much better than I do. It's a good example.
Yeah. So, I mean, by now you guys understand I'm very passionate about health and wellness, but after working in tech for about 8 years, I decided to go on that journey of pursuing my passion for wellness. And I got my personal training certification. And even though I was working out every single day and had been working out for years since I was a teenager, I felt an overwhelming sense of imposter syndrome walking into the gym when now I was supposed to be this expert personal trainer, even though I'd worked out every single day for years and years and years, gotten the certification, studied, learned anatomy, all of those things. I had to start showing up as that expert. I literally needed to embody that confidence of just literally starting from what I knew. I would put people through my own workouts. I would have it fresh in my mind of what I did yesterday and literally just coach them through that, even though it might not be necessarily what they needed in their overall programming. That's where I had to start, because otherwise I felt this overwhelmed, like imposter syndrome. Who are you to be telling me and these people what to do? So I had to keep, the important thing there is to keep showing up where you are, but also as that person that you want to be. So it's meeting yourself where you're at. Like, this is what I'm comfortable showing to the world, but also embodying that future version of yourself too, of like, no, I'm going to be this personal trainer. And that requires me to hold my head high and walk into that gym every single day and tell those clients exactly what I'm comfortable with. So it takes a lot, but consistency really moves you forward in the long run.
Awesome. Thank you, Michelle. I love that story. So we all face imposter syndrome in one way, shape, or form on our own. And Rob Dial has a lot of good podcasts on really breaking that down and owning it. Because it can be something that, like Michelle said earlier, that you can stop, be aware of it, but you can work through it. Like, all of the imposter syndrome that you may or may not face can be worked through your support system, your friends, your coaches, and you will get through it. So keep an eye out for him. Look for any related blogging podcasts, anything that can be helpful during this time to continue to keep you on a positive track. Okay, so I'm gonna, just for the sake of time, I'm gonna try to fly through these slides really quick. I heard somebody on the chat earlier say that they have a blog, which is awesome. This guy I found just doing a Google search on him. So again, as a recruiter, this is how I would find, if I was looking for a very senior engineer, I would go ahead and look for people that are out there doing this exact thing, right? Because I would want to find the best of the best of the best. This guy has written almost, 1,200 articles. He created his own page. He wants to talk to people, right? He wants to network. He wants to know who you are. So if I were you, I would read one of those 1,100 articles and send him a LinkedIn message, make a connection and say, hey, I agree with you on GraphQL and your perspective. I would love to just keep in touch with you as a new software engineer on the block. I would love to just have somebody in my network who is senior and is really passionate about what he does. Super easy way to build your network. And then here's an example of Reddit and how we were talking about this earlier. There are so many ways in which you can get involved in conversation, right? So here's a Reddit thread. You can see there's 45,000 people here, and you can start chatting. You can start chatting about anything that they're talking about. This is a great way to meet new people. So you meet them here in the chat, you add them on LinkedIn, they become a connection of yours. Most likely they are a software engineer working somewhere, so you're continuing to really open up your network. Bro, I can skip right to the end. I have one last final slide. Do we want to end right at 2:30, right?
If you needed some more time, that's okay. But if you wanted to stop now, that's okay too.
I can go, I probably have just like, I can make it happen in like 5 minutes if that's okay.
Yeah, that's totally fine.
Okay, cool. And I will go fast. Okay, here's another example of somebody that I found who has his own podcast, his own blog, right? You guys don't have the time to do this right now, but you will eventually, and it can be part of who you want to show up as, right? You want to be an expert in your industry eventually, and so that's maybe something that you work towards. Maybe on the nights that you can't sleep, you're starting to write blogs about things that you're finding, people you're meeting, new technologies you're coming, head to head with. So this here is, we wanted to make it a little bit personable. And so we thought we would end with this creative outreach that we did here. So if you guys remember when I had first started talking to you about my blog, my mentor had come to me and said, you have to get this blog going, blah, blah, blah. And so I started doing it. It started to make a ton of traction. And so I just kind of kept going with it. And in doing so, I had some people reach out to me from Miami who were doing we were doing these events where we would go to Miami. He would fly in people from all over the world who had been in recruiting forever. And we would spend like 12 hours a day filming our conversations about recruiting. So my network, I was scared shitless. I didn't want to go to Miami and meet all these people I didn't know, but I went, I took a risk. I opened up my network. I got tons of clients from meeting all those people. I got tons of mentors, made tons of new friends, and it was all based around recruiting, right? And it was amazing. It was an opportunity that I had to open myself up to in order to get here. And so we encourage you to scare the shit out of yourself, do things that make you uncomfortable, because the more that you do that, the more that your doors are going to open. So this here is after about 5 or 6 filming sessions on recruiting. I can't remember what we called them right off the, they were documentaries that we had filmed. They were amazing. We went on to do a reality show. And so I moved into this house for the week. This is Jackie Chan's old house. And I actually got to sleep up here in his bed. And this is right here on the Miami waterfront. And over here we had like a bunch of chefs and a bunch of people helping us out for the week, cooking us food every day. Over here, we had tons of people doing hair and makeup 24/7. The entire scene for 7 days was filmed. It was a long 7 days. But again, it was something that I can always talk about. It's something that is unique and different and creative. And I was able to really get myself out of the box there and open up my network. Okay. So I told you a little bit about the recruiting side of things. I want to say one thing here is just to make sure that your social media is helping you sell yourself as a professional, not hurting you. So just do a double check over the weekend. Make sure that you don't have your shirt off in every picture on Instagram, drinking beer or whatever. Let's keep it professional. And if it's not, that's fine. Just lock it up. Make sure you know how to lock it up. Because recruiters, we are professional stalkers, right? And so if you are applying for an internal position, the first thing we do is go look at all of your social media to see what's out there, to see if you'd be a good fit for the company. So you just want to make sure everything looks as professional as possible. So make a note to yourself to do a social media check and ask yourself, is this helping my career or hurting my career? Okay, I'm going to skip through here. See here. Okay, this is the last thing I want to tell you guys, and then we will wrap it up. So the reason we had you figure out your core values is because when you're interviewing with a company and they're asking you culture-based questions, you want to be able to answer based on their core values as a company. So you can always find the core values under the careers page, or usually meet our team, or even their LinkedIn or their social media, right? So if you find a company like Southwest, for example, and you look at these core values and you're like, wow, hell yeah, these are right up my alley. This is where I want to work. Then you can take all of these core values and use these in your interview process. Why are you a good fit for Southwest? Well, great question. I'm so glad that you asked. When I reviewed your core values, the two that stuck out to me were the warrior spirit and wowing our customers. Really? Tell me more. Yeah, so customer experience to me is something that I'm extremely passionate about. And I love the idea that you take the customer experience to the next level and you make sure that everybody is happy while you're creating memorable connections. In addition, the warrior spirit really hits home to me because every day I strive to be better than I was yesterday. So I would be honored to work at a company like Southwest. I was going to ask you guys if you knew who this was, but we don't have time, so I'm going to tell you. This is Zappos. If you haven't looked into Zappos, I highly recommend it. They are such a great company. I've read all their books. They have great books out too on delivering wow. But take a look at their core values and see if any of those really align with you. And you should be doing this with every company that you come across. And then what that will allow you to do is to look at Fortune 100 companies, the best ones to work for. Everyone that gets this award will have this little logo there. Same thing with Great Place to Work certified. I mean, you can literally look and search for all these companies in different states. And those will be great places to work. Okay, so lastly, what are we gonna do next after today? There's a lot to do. I know you have a lot of notes, but we're gonna practice self-awareness, right? Because having emotional maturity in the job place is probably your #1 skill that you're gonna have. Even if you're the best coder, you need to be emotionally mature and you need to be self-aware. You're gonna own your career path, right? So no excuses to throwing applications against the wall and hoping something sticks. This is your journey, you own it, and you are able to land any job that you want. So hackathons like MintBeam is doing today, which is amazing. I post a meetup group every Saturday that is on the Hunter Slack channel. You can be a part of that. There's usually 70 engineers there. And then just hold yourself accountable, right? Make this journey your own and hold yourself accountable instead of just kind of going with it and seeing what happens. So it looks like the chat is blowing up a little bit. Michelle, do you have any last words before we wrap up? And I'll take a look at the chat.
Sure. So, yep, this is great. So again, just aligning and realigning every single day. So keeping that why at the forefront. What is that big goal you're trying to achieve, and bringing it back to your day-to-day actions and who you're showing up as a human. So all of this can just be rolled into that of your ultimate goal in your job search, obviously, is to get that dream job, right? That one that you're not just getting hired just because you've been in the search forever. It's that one that you can really add value to. They can add value to you and you just really fit. So getting that dream job, and the way that you do that is taking ownership, setting intentions, and showing up consistently as such day in and day out. So we hope that this was valuable for you guys. If there are any last minute questions, we're going to share more resources as well. Leanne has all of those creative outreach presentations that she can share. We also are going to share a link to the Slack channel that people are asking for. Leanne, did you get that one, or I can get that?
Yes, the
Hunter channel, I think, is what everyone is talking about.
Yeah, that is where we post most things. But also, Ro, I can also get you or Jennifer a backup of all those docs too, if you need them or want them.
Yes, that's perfect. Thanks, Leanne. Yeah, if you guys can just email it to me after, I'll be more than happy to share it with our community on Discord as well as sharing that Hunter's Slack link too. So no rush on that. Everyone, you guys will get all the links and all the papers and any documents from today's presentation. We'll make it available to you guys as well in the Discord. And I just want to thank Leanne, Michelle, thank you one more time for coming on today and hosting an amazing workshop. I think everyone took a lot away from this, and we're very excited, everyone, for your journey and, on your process of, self-branding and If you guys ever want to reach out to Leanne and Michelle, I'm sure I can grab their socials and we'll drop it into the Discord channel as well, so you guys can connect with them, whether it's on Twitter or on LinkedIn. But yes, thank you so much, Michelle and Leanne, and thank you everyone for joining us today and spending the hour and a bit with us. Thank you,
Thank you guys.